they were clothing merchants. In a wagon, they hauled clothing across the deserts, past Palm Springs to the Colorado River and Blythe, setting up a store, and then on to Prescott. And even though they went broke many times, they worked hard to pull themselves up. And eventually, in 1963, when they settled in Arizona, they became successful. And it was a family that were serving the miners and the early prospectors. And they set up shops in Prescott, which at one time was the territorial capital. They had businesses down in Bisbee and Douglas and in Tombstone. In fact, there's a great story about the Bisbee massacre. My great uncle had the only safe in town, and everybody would leave their money there and their payroll. And one day, 5 people held it up and ran off into the dark with the money and valuables. In the process, killed 2 people. Well, the posse went out and they caught them, took them to Tombstone. They put them on trial, found them guilty, and sentenced them to hang. Well, nobody had a rope, so they had to go back to the Goldwater store in Bisbee to get the rope. Well, my family is no different than many of your families and your grandparents who also came over here looking for opportunity. Today we have discarded much of those qualities for handouts, independency, entitlements, rules and regulations, a very powerful central government, personal debt, and politicians promise to take care of us. I think this is why my father, Senator Goldwater, got into government. In 1949, after the Second World War, he came and ran for the city council in Phoenix. He was a man that believed in serving his country. He was a man that believed in making a commitment. And he had basic beliefs that he felt were important. He served on the city council, and in 1951 he was elected to the United States Senate, going in on the coattails of Eisenhower. He served some 30 years in the United States Senate representing Arizona, and was instrumental, along with many of our other very esteemed members of Congress, such as Senator Carl Hayden, John Rhodes, Congressman John Rhodes, Congressman Morris Udall, in helping to grow this great state. Water is precious, and we just abuse it without any sense of where it comes from and how valuable it is. But they were instrumental in getting the Central Arizona Project put in place to bring water from the Colorado River. He's been a part of this state from its very inception. He was born in the territory of Arizona in 1909. Arizona became a state February 14th, 1912. He was born in 1909 to a mother and dad who were real pioneers. His mother was the first registered nurse in the state of Arizona. She was the one that basically raised my father and his brother and sister and taught him the values of hard work and patriotism and honesty. She's the one that took him every night up to see the flag being raised at the Indian school. She's the one that taught him how to shoot a gun and drive a car and how to light a fire in a campfire. His mother was a real pioneer. She died at the age of 98, still smoking and drinking whiskey. You know, all my life growing up with my father, I envisioned working with him. I loved him, of course, and I saw myself eventually, after college, going into business with my father. And I could see over the store, Goldwater and Son, and I could hardly wait. I didn't realize that I'd have to go to Washington, D.C. to fulfill that fantasy. But after college, I moved to California, and I became a stockbroker. For those of you who are anxious to get home, let me just tell you the market is, the Dow is down 181 points, and if you shorted Ford, you're making money. I did a lot of stockbroking for about 10 years, and then I ran for Congress, and all of a sudden I won. And I had no idea what I was doing, but I was a congressman, and I was on the floor of the House of Representatives with my hand up, swearing to defend the Constitution. And I had no idea even where the men's room was, let alone what was going on. And you talk about the Peter Principle at work, you're looking at it. But you know something? That's what our Congress is about. It's about people from all walks of life that have no clue about government and how it works. But once they get elected, they learn real fast. And I had a wonderful 14 years serving with my father. We didn't get together on too much legislation, but we did pass the Privacy Act of 1974 that for the first time was an effort to codify the concept of privacy. There were no rules and regulations about privacy. It was all something that we respected. But with the advent of computers and internet and the potential for invasion of privacy, it was essential that we start setting some guidelines down. And so the Privacy Act of 1974 was the first effort. And both he and I worked on that, were the co-authors. We did a few other things together, but his attention was mostly on defense and aerospace. I remember when I first ran for Congress, it wasn't something that I wanted to do, to be honest with you. I enjoyed being a stockbroker. But I worked in politics all my life because of my father. I remember as a young kid tacking posters for Goldwater for council. I could hardly get over the fence. But all my life I grew up in politics, and it was ingrained. And there was a special election after Nixon was elected, and a bunch of my friends were sitting around in a bar with me talking, and they said, "Goldwater, you ought to run for that congressional seat." And I said, "I don't think so. I like being a stockbroker." Well, about after the fifth drink, I said, "Okay." And we ran that thing out, still sucker out of my house. It destroyed my house, but it was a wonderful experience. And the next thing I know, I'm a member of Congress, and it was a wonderful 14 years. I think my father, Senator Goldwater, is kind of an icon in the field of politics. He made his mark. He set a standard that is not being followed today of ethics, honesty, value, and integrity. I go to Congress today, and before I even get to the Capitol, I can feel the anger, the animosity, the get-even kind of attitude that permeates the halls of Congress. When I was in Congress, the Democrats and Republicans, we got along. The Democrats allowed the Republicans, who were a minority, to participate in the debate, offer amendments, motions to recommit. And then, we'd fight fiercely in committee, but when we go down and have dinner together, or wives would get together, whatever, today it's a whole different scene, and it's sad. And it's going to take some dynamic leadership from somebody, and I wish it were Nancy Pelosi, but she does not even measure up to that challenge. But it's going to take a speaker like a Tip O'Neill. We used to go down and have whiskey with Ronald Reagan and fight real hard, but they liked each other, and they were leaders in government and politics.